really high priority pick right now. CLG will go to the Udyr, so you pretty much feel like it's almost guaranteed that Spica will grab the Olaf. He doesn't have to do it right now, but you would want to do it in the first round at some point before it does get banned out. Oftentimes that will be the third pick unless they're trying to actually hide something over on the red side. But
right.
I really just want to see, higher level of coordination from TSM. We know that they have some strong individual players. We know that they have really had players that have stood out at different points in their career, but they've got to bring it together as a squad. They've got to look coordinated. That is step number one, because League of Legends, especially today, is such a team game. Advantages are created through the coordination of multiple players. Even when it is about these counter picks, you really see the advantages increased exponentially when they're coordinating well with their mid laners and their junglers, and they're moving around the map together, and they're manipulating waves together to create additional pressure. So that's what I want to look for from TSM.
Okay, we get to see the Olaf locked in instantly. They are not waiting for that one for the third pick. They're saying, all right, even though you got jungle, we're just going to get our jungler here. We'd rather see more of your draft before committing to other stuff. And we will see the Azir instantly picked up for PowerOfEvil as well.
It's a very PowerOfEvil-esque pick. You do really associate this guy with the control mages, with the scaling picks. He is very, very good at them, has been very good on them for a really long time. CLG will grab Camille for themselves, which does open up the opportunity for TSM to answer with something like the Jax. I do think that would be a strong answer. We've seen that be very effective in a lot of games already here in the LCS. Huni likes to play carries. I think it could make sense. There are also other answers, of course, you could go towards, but I would be happy to see Huni pick for a winning matchup, look to try to win that 1v1, because so far he has been having a bit of a rough go of things.
Well, we've got the Camille and Thresh locked in here, and you saw the Thresh win rate pop up so far, 36% on the old spooky boy. So not feeling too great in the current state of the game, but maybe Smoothie can pop off here on him, make a couple of plays, as TSM will respond by picking up their AD carry and choosing the Xayah here before the second bans come in.
I like Xayah here as a pick. I think that when you're looking over at CLG, you're immediately expecting a pretty dive-heavy comp. You have the Camille, you have the Udyr. A lot of times people like to pair that with things like TF or Galio to try to also get towards that backline. So that means you're going to want to have a marksman that can keep themselves safe. And Xayah can do that with the Featherstorm. When they're diving back onto you, pop the ulti, use that Blade Collar, pull in the feathers to be able to be a little bit more careful. So it seems like a pretty intelligent pick. And now some of the bans can be targeted towards WildTurtle, it looks like. Jhin, a bit of an interesting ban, as it hasn't been something that has been as popular, but it is something that we know Turtle can play. Kais has been banned out. He has picked Jhin a couple times. Xayah was picked away. So the only thing that we've actually seen Turtle play so far this year that is still available would be the Samira.
Yep, and on the other side, CLG goes for the breakup ban. Rakan removed from the possibility of working together with Xayah. We know how well those champions function as a duo, so they want to shut that down. TSM has one more ban to go here. Their opponent's champions all just really fit into one specific role, so they know they either need to target the AD carry pool or the mid pool here, and they want to remove one of those safe options. This goes back to what you were talking about, Isaac, in the last champion select, how although it's not universal, a lot of players do agree that Orianna would win the matchup against Azir, so they want to take that one off the table, make things a little bit easier there for PowerOfEvil in mid.
Yeah, we've seen two differing opinions, even in the last two games. This time it's the Azir team actually banning out the Orianna. Last time we saw the Orianna team banning out the Azir. So very clearly, different approaches to that matchup, different looks at what they may expect. The GP going to be banned away from Huni here. So CLG a little bit worried about that cross-map play, about Huni being able to stay on his own island, farm up, withstand the pressure, and just have added value with that cross-map ultimate. Gragas would be a pretty solid pick here. Is a flex as well, can go support and top. Tank as well, I think can be pretty strong, but it's actually going to be Lulu. So Lulu, there's a potential of it being flexed. I have seen a little bit of Moonstone Lulu top lane, kind of trying to fill the same role as Ivern, but more likely it probably is support. I would say though, if they are sending it towards bot lane, I would be terrified personally picking Lulu into Thresh, so that's the only reason I actually bring it up as a flex pick, because I think that it's so scary to be playing Lulu into some of these really strong all-in type supports when you are playing Thresh. If you ever get hooked as Lulu, you're pretty much just dead. It is a very, very squishy support champion, but I am not very familiar with the top lane matchup and if that would even be something they'd be considering.
Well, CLG is putting some firepower here into the bottom lane, grabbing Aphelios there with the Thresh. One of Aphelios' natural weaknesses, of course, he does not have any sort of dashes or invisibilities or blinks, so having Thresh there to peel and protect him makes a lot of sense. And then the final pick for CLG will be the Zoe to go up against Azir here in the mid lane. So TSM, what's it going to be? Is it support Lulu? Is it top lane Lulu? It's looking like it is that top Lulu there for Huni, which means Leona for SwordArt might just be locked in. There it is. Okay. All right. It's Leona, Xayah versus Aphelios Thresh.
And so it should it should be top lane Lulu, which I am expecting then to get the Moonstaff build, whatever you want to call it, Moonstone Renewer Rush, full-on support style. I think that it can work very well, but he has to play around with Spica, right? You know, if Spica's not up there and they're not going for 2v2s and they're not actually taking Rift Heralds and getting pressure, then I think it's not that valuable, because one of the best answers to these style of builds is actually split push, right? What that build wants to do is get towards your items really quickly that are super strong in a 5v5, super strong in a team fight scenario, and group and stay grouped and keep team fighting. And what split pushers are going to do is just refuse to group, keep drawing you to a side lane where their items, which are built for that 1v1, are going to have a much greater effect than yours, which are built for team play, yours, which are built for assisting your compatriots on the Rift. So we'll see how they're going to be able to play it out. I do think that Lulu can be pretty abusive into melee matchups early in my limited experience playing against the top lane, but as I said, you got to play with your jungler here or he's going to be locked under his turret and be pretty worthless.
Yeah, and I really like the point that you're making about the split push thing, especially when you're up against not just a powerful split pushing top laner, but a guy like Udyr who can run so fast and punish you so easily if you're overextended. You think of Lulu and you think of times you've seen a Lulu make a great escape by using the Whimsy and getting fast and popping the Glitter Lance to slow the other guy down, and she manages to run away. You're not doing that against Udyr. He's completely just constantly spamming bear, running after you 100,000 miles per hour over and over and over again, and eventually you get slapped upside the head and you're gone. And Moonstone Renewer is not saving you from that.
Definitely isn't. One thing I will say is that I think Finn went a little bit greedy with his runes. He didn't actually go Resolve Secondary. Most of the time, people will go Resolve Secondary for the second win against these kind of matchups because generally they only can punish you early. And if you don't get slammed early, you get a little bit of sustain in the build, you get some levels under your belt, and you're not really going to be worried later on. He's taken more of a middle-of-the-road approach where he did go D-Shield, but he actually went for Inspiration Secondary for the free boots. Biscuits are going to help somewhat, but not as much indexing towards just surviving lane. So if he can get away with it, it's going to be even better going forward into the game, and we'll just have to track if Huni can punish him for it.
Right. And Finn does have the flash, no Ignite this time. There's a lot of, every time TP Ignite Camille loses, there's a lot of criticism from the community about why the hell are you doing this on Camille, just take flash. Well, Finn's taking the flash here this time, not doing that extra risky Ignite style behavior. Also going up against Huni, so not exactly going to worry about needing to have extra 1v1 power against something like a Lulu. It doesn't make you feel like you're under super threat in the 1v1, except for just poking you out nice and early, as you were already alluding to. But checking across the board for everything else, PowerOfEvil going for the Electrocute on Azir in the mid lane, so none of the attack speed-based stuff with lethal tempo. Sometimes you'll see Comet as another option as well. I feel like Electrocute's more rare here.
It is. It's definitely more rare. And I think really they all kind of do a similar thing. It's just about what kind of trading patterns you're expecting, as SwordArt taking a bit of a rough trade, but he does kill off the ward, which is important. You know, if you think you're going to take really quick trades, like only one hit, Comet makes more sense, right? Because then it's just Q poke and the Comet lands. If you think you're going to be taking a little bit more of like that middle ground as far as trading, where it's a couple hits and you can proc the Electrocute, that becomes superior. And then if you're thinking you're not interacting at all, or you can really get long extended trades, lethal tempo really kind of edges it out. So I think they're all viable. It really just depends on what you're expecting from that lane and how it's going to look. And I'd also be remiss to say, because it is Huni, it might not be Moonstone Renewer, right? Like, this could theoretically just be AP Lulu, and he actually just tries to play AP Lulu and slam Finn and then, you know, team fight anyway. Because it's not as though a standard AP Lulu isn't a good team fighter and supportive champion anyway. He doesn't have to go Moonstone. I just kind of default to thinking that is going to be the build because it is so popular these days, and a lot of players are really just trying to figure out, all right, well, how do I just get this into my build? What champion can I play where I can build this combo? Because people feel like it is that strong that it's worth justifying on pretty much everything.
But Moonstone does not come to mind when you think Huni, right? When you think of this guy as a player and the things that he's popped off popped off on, and Huni at his best. Moonstone Lulu just farming up 2 support items and following everybody around and going that tasted purple over and over again, spamming heals and shields on them.
Do you think he yells that
Doesn't
out?
come to mind. But
Yeah.
Finn's going in for a quick trade here in the top side. Quickly finds himself traded back on, though, as Huni utilizes the power of that ranged matchup. Now, Spica is up here in the top lane. Finn's down to 200 HP. They might go for a dive.
Yeah, I think that Griffin needs to get up here ASAP. If you don't see your top laner this low and the wave getting actually pushed in, you are going to be in a risky spot. But Finn intelligently backing off, knowing that he is at a bit of a dangerous position here, is just going to TP right back in. And he TP's on the minion to try to hold the wave. And this will very likely force Huni now to also use his own TP, because Huni has no mana. He can't actually stay around, or he would be potentially in a lot of danger. So Huni will go back. He will have to TP back to actually try to reset the wave. So at the very least, Finn keeps things equal there. And we can see if it's going to be, Bandle Glass Mirror right off the bat. It is not. So there is potential of a bit of a different build. The Ruby Crystal still smells like it's going to be building towards a support item, but it could be a bit of a different look with the tier here.
I love the fact that you just used the verb smells, because in all the descriptions of analyzing builds early on, I can't remember a time when anyone else has ever said that, and now I'm just imagining what a ruby crystal would smell like if you could take a big ol' whiff of it. But apparently it smells like some top lane support itemization, my friends. Huni will continue having control over the lane no matter what he's building. It's just the nature of being a ranged champion versus a melee early on, and Finn will be left to farm up these minions as Huni wanders into the enemy jungle, popping off the Scryer's Bloom and setting down some wards to keep an eye on where Griffin's going to be farming and papping.
And that's great, because when you're playing these ranged matchups, the way that you create advantages is by putting the pressure on. And the way you put the pressure on is by pushing in generally and harassing them under the tower. But some nice pathing here from Griffin. He's actually behind Huni, and Huni could be just straight up dead.
Maybe.
Spica is in the area, but we'll see if he can actually get there in time, as Griffin is now spotted.
Okay, slow on to the enemy jungler. Huni staying alive for now, flashing away immediately. And yes, he will survive. Spica is close enough that Griffin and Finn do not want to overcommit for this one. But hey, you got the summoner spell. He had already used teleport, so now he's got to go back to base, and he's not feeling great about it.
Thankfully for him, the wave is slow pushing towards him. Finn is going to try to shove as fast as he possibly can to get that wave reset. But Huni actually buys boots, will run straight back up, has the whimsy. So he should be able to get there without losing much, honestly, because the cannon minion is actually full HP, and it's actually looking kind of close to even if it gets all the way to the tower, because that next minion wave did arrive, so Huni might not lose much.
Ooh. PowerOfEvil goes for the ulti there, but RJS gets himself away with a flash on the Zoe, staying safe in this one. The mid lane very even between these two right now, Azael. Farm almost identical. It will favor RJS just ever so slightly after he picks up most of these minions, but the Drake is started up by TSM. Yes, they're down a couple of 100 gold across the map, but grabbing this nice and early is a great sign here for their early game.
And I've got to say, RJS has done a pretty good job, right? I don't think anyone was really expecting anything from him when we heard about this last-minute substitution, moving him up from Academy, taking Pobelter's spot on the roster. But, he has made mistakes, to be clear, but he was 8-3-12 yesterday on the Orion, had some good moments. Even in his TF game, he did get ahead, and then certainly had some bloopers to put himself back behind. But I think he's been turning in a solid performance in what has been some tough matchups, and not really having a lot of expectations from.
Well, Spica will pass off this second blue buff over to PowerOfEvil. Make sure the Emperor of Shurima is ready to keep controlling that mid lane here moving forward. PowerOfEvil, of course, always one of those guys that you can expect to play the control mage and play it well. He is in his element on a pick like this. Fine being allowed to scale forward in the game and just take as much time as necessary. I do want to make sure we're keeping our eyes on the clock as we get closer and closer to 10 minutes. Because remember, Primal was talking about in the desk segment leading up to this game how TSM's bad early game has led them to these major gold deficits early on. And right now, yeah, they're 200 gold behind, but hey, 200 gold's 3 wards. That's not a huge deal, right? But if it continues to follow the trend of what we've seen from their first couple of games, well, that could be truly worrying here. A nice hook at max range there from Smoothie.
The bot lane 2v2 going very well for CLG thus far. Lost and SwordArt really have been struggling as a duo. There was big expectations here when you get this huge world finalist import in the support role. But Lost is a very young player. He doesn't have that LCS experience. And Finn trying to turn around the trade here on Huni, but got to be careful about getting chased down at this point. That was a risky hook shot.
Man. Finn down to 250 HP as the junglers are here in a 1v1 themselves. Spica and Griffin fighting over the red buff. as Griffin just goes over the wall and immediately starts up the Shelly. Let's see if Spica wants to come respond to this one. Yeah, they got their support nearby. With SwordArt roaming up here, that means Griffin cannot stick to this.
Yeah, and I mean, Finn was basing with no teleport, so it doesn't exactly seem like the ideal time to try to go for the Rift Herald there. So Griffin intelligently will just give it up, as Smoothie has moved up here, but I think it's going to be too little too late. Very likely TSM should be able to take this unless CLG go immediately, as I'm expecting that Rift Herald is already pretty low. We can maybe get a peek at the health bar now. Actually a lot healthier than I expected it to be at this point, so may end up being a fight, but Huni is roaming down, and they do have this Lulu.
Spica forced to use the Ragnarok there to escape what could have been a death if he stuck around too much longer. Griffin's just going to allow the patience to run out on Shelly, and that's a reset. TSM cannot get the objective.
Not going to be able to take it. CLG now going to take their whack at it. We'll be starting it up. You can see Lost is still down on this bot side, so he is going to push this out. He could actually base and then move up if they want to try to scrap. PowerOfEvil is cheating over towards that Rift Herald, but it does look like the decision will be just to give it up, to try to play more for the waves. And it's not a huge loss for TSM, but CLG doing a pretty good job of dissuading them from that without really overly committing. You know, neither team actually moved up their marksman, which I tend to prefer that look. I do think that in the earlier weeks of lock-in, teams were overcommitting to the Rift Herald, spending too many resources to move up and take that. When you're losing minions on the other side and sometimes losing plates and the experience as well, it's not really worth it, because the Rift Herald, you have to actually think about what value you're getting, right? The expected value is generally 320 gold. You get the 2 plates, and usually not much more than that. Sometimes they don't even get the charge off. So if you're losing more gold through minions and experience, then you shouldn't even be attempting it.
Yeah, all about actually analyzing, hey, what is this really worth besides saying we got the objective? And at least for CLG, they got that just before 10 minutes. Remember, the Rift Herald does last 4 minutes overall, so that means at any point they should be able to summon it up there for the plate money as PowerOfEvil's going in. Gets the shuffle onto RJS this time. SwordArt coming in. Goes for the flash, but Smoothie's there to save him. Now SwordArt's jumping over the wall here with the Zenith Blade, continuing that chase, and SwordArt has gone too far. RJS with the first blood.
Smoothie, right place, right time with the lantern there. That was huge. And then SwordArt, following him with the Zenith Blade, gets dragged incredibly far, as it looked like it could have been a positive play. PowerOfEvil was setting up a trap for RJS. As he stepped forward to try to pick up that Ignite off the ground, he was always going to go in for him. But then, here, we see Smoothie get Zenith Bladed, and he flashes over the wall, pulling in SwordArt very, very far. SwordArt takes a lot of initial damage there from RJS, and then gets hooked up by Smoothie, bursts down by RJS. That is some nice coordination, a good roam timing there from Smoothie, who, despite the loss yesterday, individually, I thought had a very good rel game. Was really on point with his setups in those team fights. It was more that CLG fell apart as far as the macro and as far as knowing what to do to close out that game. But CLG did have some good team fighting yesterday.
And we're 12 minutes into the game right now, Azael, and look at where the gold is. It's 1,500 gold favoring CLG. Before they even got the kill, the natural gold lead was just building up because of better farming and turret plates and things like that. And now Griffin's coming up here on the top side, looking to counter jungle a little bit more. Shouldn't really be any chance to make a dive happen onto a full HP Lulu with all her spells, but can't find any Krug, so he'll head back down towards mid. CLG is looking good here in this early game.
They are. Huni now, though, has his Moonstone Renewer. The lane has been going fine for him. Generally, if you can just kind of farm it out as these supportive style champions, you're feeling pretty good. Lost, you are taking a lot of damage there.
WildTurtle having a flash away, though, as SwordArt follows up and they threaten the kill. SwordArt hugging the wall to avoid the death sentence that comes out in the back end of the fight. Both AD carries feeling the pain after that one, but it's WildTurtle who had to use both summoner spells to stay alive.
Yeah, Lost was trying to find the angle there to get the root with his pullback on the feathers, but unfortunately for him, wasn't able to actually find it, and did end up using his E, the pullback, before his ultimate. So maybe could have actually committed the ultimate a little bit earlier and potentially even gotten that kill, or at the very least a little bit more pressure. But as you say, they did force the extra summoner, so they're going to be feeling pretty good about that. And Finn trying to push Huni back just to escort Shelly in for a second charge here.
Yep, Shelly's second charge would go a long way onto that tier 2 turret, getting about over half the HP, but there it goes again. PowerOfEvil looking for RJS, but now he's asleep. PoE not feeling too good about how this one's going as RJS gets his second kill of this game. Spica is not strong enough to 1v2 these guys for a return kill. And CLG, they got 2 kills. They got the turret up there in the top lane with all 5 plates. This early game is looking wonderful.
It is looking so good for CLG, and every time PowerOfEvil has that ultimate, they are going in, trying to make plays on RJS, but it was Griffin that was there first on the Udyr. Run, stun, done. The TP coming in. Oh, that was beautiful.
Oh, he goes in and uses Huni as an escape mechanism, but WildTurtle is still in danger. There is not enough to get him out. I applaud the try, but TSM gets it done here in the bottom lane.
That was a great play by Smoothie, but a great counter play by Huni. He had been hooked out, but he uses the wild growth to interrupt the lantern path there from WildTurtle. Also very interesting stuff you can see in our Honda performance play. We'll watch this one more time. Smoothie spotting Huni, great timing on the hook, drops the lantern, but then the wild growth prevents Turtle from getting all the way back, allows them to catch up, to lock him down and take him down. So nice TP play from TSM, but you like to see both sides of it playing well in that way. And I have to point out the Imperial Mandate now here on PowerOfEvil, so very interesting.
Yes.
Going for a pretty different look here as far as the Azir itemization. I can't say I have really seen this build at all on Azir. People were experimenting with it quite a lot in some of the earlier days. You need to land a slow or an immobilize, right? So I assume he's going to go towards like a Rylai's or something like that to actually be applying those slows more consistently. Because right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it should only be the ultimate that's actually really applying that, unless there's some interaction I'm actually missing.
There's not one coming to my mind, but then again, Azir is not a Scorpion, so I won't pretend like I'm well-versed in his mechanics.
We could be missing something here, but I mean, in the early days of the preseason, I was seeing a lot of like Imperial Mandate, things like Lissandra, right? People experimenting with everything, just trying it out. Nami, it's incredibly good. People that have slows and CCs built into the kit that are very easy to apply. So I really can't say I've seen this on Azir at all. I'm not exactly sure if it is just more of like a scaling thing where you try to get the Rylai's later on and then use that to apply, as your spells would then apply the slow, which would imply the mandate. But it seems pretty atypical. You know, it's generally more of a supportive look. Some of the champions you see mandated on a lot in solo queue these days are things like Ashe, where they go for the tier mandate build. They spam out volley, which applies it. But you also need follow-up to poke, right? Because if you don't have someone actually proccing the mandate, it's not doing anything for you. The initial hit isn't what is actually triggering the damage. It's the explosion from the poke from your teammates. So we'll have to actually track how this item does throughout the rest of the game.
And if there's one person to go with some inventive builds in the mid lane, PowerOfEvil's the guy I would expect to do it. Remember the Nashor's Tooth Orianna back in the day? Always wanted to be the guy who's able to think outside the box here a little bit. Total Gold popping up on the left side of your screen right about now. It's Lost and RJS, the 2 richest players in the game right now. Lost having that 1 kill under his belt makes up for the fact that he is 20 CS behind WildTurtle. And these 2 AD carries are just continuing to square off here in the top lane. But I will be interested, Azael, in seeing how much firepower both teams bring down to the bottom side here soon, because we got 45 seconds till that 3rd Drake is alive.
And I don't think they're going to want to give up this whole point. So Q does slow. I just actually looked it up. So it is the 25% 1 second slow on the Azir Q. So that will apply the mandate. So that is the thought process. He does not need to wait for anything like the Rylai's. So excuse me for that. So it will be interesting to actually follow up on this and see how it is performing in these fights. It's definitely going to be a lot weaker in any sort of 1v1 or the laning, but can be pretty nice and does have a fairly good mythic passive of just flat AP with every additional item completed for the Azir.
Yeah, well, hey, today we learned something, Isaac. We learned exactly how Imperial Mandate synergizes with Azir. I'll have you know I have played 1 game of Azir in my life. I played him on the old Hexakill map on Twisted Treeline, and I got a Hexakill, and I never played him ever again.
100% win rate, let's go.
100% win rate, 100% Hexakill rate, but right now it is all about the Drake here for TSM. That soul point will be surrendered. TSM is going after that one. They secure it. They are at 3-0 on Drakes, but back in the mid lane, it is CLG taking down the tier 1, the tier 2. Shelly will not get a charge off onto the inhibitor turret, and CLG exits stage left.
So it will be that trade of the immediate gold for CLG in exchange for that potential soul that TSM is working towards. But that's concerning. You know, yes, you got some gold in your pockets right now, but Ocean Soul is so good if you give it over to some of these champions on the TSM side. When you look at how durable someone like the Olaf is going to become with the Lulu shielding and speeding you up, the last thing you want is even more durability with that potential Ocean Soul. TSM are built for 5v5. CLG must now contest them 5v5 at that next dragon for Soul Point, and that could very well be where the game is decided. CLG will have a gold lead, but the question is going to be, can they execute on that, pick someone off prior to the fight, or even just win a 5v5 straight up, because they're going to have to now.
Alrighty, TSM down that 3,000 gold, up ready for that Drake, but it's CLG's job to stop him here. 4 minutes from now is still quite a ways away. 1 minute before Baron spawns onto the map, TSM will continue. Just trying to push these waves out here. Huni with the completed Moonstone Renewer. And here's where I want to see CLG play the macro game correctly. This is what you brought up back in Champ Select, Azael. Let's go back to that. Talking about how Moonstone is so effective in these big team fights, and how if you're playing up against that, the best move is not to play that game. Just choose to play differently. And can CLG and Finn and Griffin in particularly facilitate the proper split push to avoid that?
Exactly.
Oh, well, Griffin's in a rough spot here. Okay, Smoothie's right place at the right time again.
The problem is going to be they want to split push, but you gave up every dragon, right? So if you actually had taken 1 or 2 of those early dragons, you have so much time to create an advantage through side lane. But given the fact that they did not, that they are actually up against Soul Point, TSM have the perfect lever to force you into that 5v5, and that is why I think that they are in such a good position right now, despite being down in gold. We will see, though, if CLG can make the most of this gold lead and really just win out on that 5v5 through sheer power. They're trying to pressure these side lanes very heavily. With the Giants belt in inventory for PowerOfEvil, likely is going towards the Rylai's, just to be able to actually apply that, with the W autos. So will be interesting. Finn on the flank here, though. Looks like they maybe want to go for something, but not going to commit just yet.
Trouble bubble only on the Leona. Takes off half her health, though. RJS just has the artillery ready to fire here on this Zoe with them couple of kills he got early on.
He's looking good this game. Has been performing pretty well. Huni not able to hold that top lane turret. Didn't have vision in his jungle to actually know if there was any sort of dive coming. So had to seed the tower over to Turtle. And the gold lead is continuing to extend. So what was just a 2,000-3,000 gold lead a couple minutes ago is now up over 4,000 gold there for CLG. But again, it's not just about the Moonstone. It's about the Imperial Mandate and these items that TSM is building for to be incredibly effective for the 5v5. That is where they are going to get the added value. That is where they are going to make their stand and really bet on their team comp and success in this game.
Woof. That was close. SwordArt going for the flash play onto RJS, forcing the Zoe to use his real flash to escape that one. With 90 seconds before the Drake spawns, that could be imperative for making sure that team fight goes TSM's way.
I mean, if you get in the wrong spot now, flash is about all you have to keep yourself safe from that Olaf who's going to be sped up, shielded up by this Lulu. If he gets in on top of these members, it is going to be incredibly difficult for CLG to deal with them. But they have the mid lane push. They have Prio now, so they're going to be able to move over here and try to clear out all the TSM vision, try to secure all the wards that they need to prepare for this dragon. But they've got to make sure to check all these brushes. When you're playing on Ocean Rift, you have got to do your due diligence. Check every little brush. There isn't a ward in that brush that's in the pit, but CLG didn't even check. So there could be a pink ward still sitting in the pit, and they wouldn't even know. No one went in there that I saw from CLG, and that is one of the things that you've got to adapt to when you are playing on these different maps, preparing for extra flanks when you're playing on Infernal, checking every brush when you're playing on Ocean.
RJS going for a little bit of poke there. CLG has not swept away the Pixel Brush ward, so that will see them walking in and out of this brush if they dip out of it to the right into the river. Spica throws out a single axe. Both sides just dancing around here, looking for the chance that they might need. Hex Flash being used from SwordArt. He goes over the wall, but considering the only person nearby is an Udyr, you don't want to be starting the fight out on him. PowerOfEvil and the rest of TSM continuing to push forward. Drake is up in 4 seconds. Griffin doing some damage here on the front line. Gets pulled to safety by Smoothie. Spica losing half HP. Now Finn is still on the flank. Has to take the blast cone over. Doesn't want to get caught out. Spica being recovered just slowly but surely here from Huni. As the Leona ulti comes in, Turtle gets pulled to safety yet again. Smoothie doing some great work here in this game. Azael, over the wall goes Finn, there goes PowerOfEvil. Everything is just evaporating for TSM. The health bars disappear like a magic trick, and CLG will take the fight.
CLG just absolutely outplaying TSM in that fight, landing so much Zoe poke, so much harassment as TSM tried to funnel in. And as they group up to retreat, WildTurtle sees the angle for the big ultimate there. You can see them just poking away, Turtle landing with the sniper there. And honestly, SwordArt just missing multiple attempts at engage. He missed every Zenith Blade, he misses the ultimate as they group. The flank comes in here from Finn, the Inferno ulti coming over the top from WildTurtle, AoEing them down, just absolutely wiping the map with them. And TSM, they built towards this crescendo. This was supposed to be their moment where they have built these support items, they force the 5v5, and then they get the Ocean Soul, and they win the game off that before they fall too far behind the gold. Unfortunately for them, they lost the fight, and now they're massively behind.
Look at that damage! WildTurtle, 5K. Enemy team put together, 4K. That's insane! WildTurtle's Aphelios just took over with the damage in that team fight, but everybody from CLG playing it great. They're stopping the Soul from coming online, and they're still commanding a 5,500 gold lead. Now, we might get another fight just because we can right about now. Griffin getting caught out, pulled to safety yet again. Smoothie with the death sentence. He is doing so much work this game, making sure CLG can play as aggressively as they like without having to worry about anything.
Time for the YOLO Baron. TSM has said, all right, we got to get a 5v5. Only way we're going to do it, start up the Baron. Finn has TP. Will they be able to force it? Spica's getting low already.
Spica down below half HP. Turtle fires off the ulti. Not going to get much with that one. Spica's still tanking. TSM choosing to disengage, but Finn is here and he's on the other side. They might get a collapse. Zoe Bubble finds a target. Do they want to commit? There's your paddle star that does not connect all the way onto Huni. That was such a long-range paddle star. If that would have hit him, that would have taken him down to 10% HP. CLG keeps him off Baron.
Oh, well, now CLG is going to start. TSM have no vision. Do they even know? I think they have an inkling that it could be going on, and they're checking the brushes. Now they have vision on it.
They have seen it. TSM must now respond to CLG. RJS getting the Sleepy Trouble bubble down onto SwordArt. TSM has those health bars nice and recovered now. They're feeling okay. CLG backing away, and all right, Isaac, we don't have any more fights now. Both teams took their shot at Baron. Both teams were able to successfully defend. But look, everybody's resetting.
Finn has prio mid lane, so if they can actually just start this up again. CLG just can continue to threaten this because we have to have TSM now responding to the mid lane. So they are actually just starting this up with Smoothie and Turtle. This is risky though. Udyr and their Zoe are not here, but at the very least, they're going to be able to deny that mid lane wave. They're going to be able to steal away some of the jungle camps. I think the initial play was good from TSM. They force out the TP, then they disengage. That is a way to force Finn to group, or to at the very least be able to punish if he goes back to the side lane. So I think it was an intelligent move. Had they hard committed to the Baron, it would have been bad, but TSM managing a pretty tough spot well there. I think it's going to come down to the Dragons here once more. The question is, can they actually get a good setup, get a good entrance to that area? Because if they are late to the Dragon, it is so damn hard to walk into an area where your opponents have vision and a Zoe throwing out poke nonstop.
It's all about being first to the scene of the crime.
No one's there.
Now, Smoothie goes for a hook, will not find it. WildTurtle here on the Aphelios. 2 items completed, has grievous wounds as well, meaning he had to take a bit of a detour before going for the 3rd completed item. Zenith Blade not going to find the mark, but just in case it did, Smoothie again with the lantern, always ready. Really liking the Thresh play we're seeing out of this guy here today in this game. 6,000 gold lead for CLG. Drake is up in 70 seconds, but that's still quite a ways away. So CLG's saying, all right, you guys have control over the bottom side, River, that's fine. We're going to take control back over the top side here.
I mean, just look at the side lanes, right? The waves are all pushing in. TSM has no one answering it, so they're just bleeding out golden experience at this point. We'll see if CLG can get anything going here. Nice sidestep on the hook, though.
Oh, Smoothie absolutely deleted. Huni grabbing a kill on that one as CLG goes back in looking for some sort of a fight, but they've lost their support. He will be back in time for the Drake, but not if the whole fight just collapses afterwards. TSM will not find any more kills or lose anyone else here just yet. Sleep finds one target, but they don't want to go in for Spica. Nice pick from TSM.
That is huge, and that was off the nice play there from Lost, catching the root. And now SwordArt threatening the dive here. He can actually go over the wall. Here comes the Hex Flash.
RJS
canceled it.
This is the most important player on CLG for these Dragon Dances. They cannot afford to lose him. TSM backing away now, heading back towards the Drake pit. SwordArt takes Griffin over the wall, and he's forced to flash back out, but SwordArt chases him with the Zenith Blade, and SwordArt, that was not where you wanted to be, buddy. PowerOfEvil tried to follow up, throws out the soldiers. PowerOfEvil getting caught out as the damage comes down. Spica's running in as PoE's running away. WildTurtle's under pressure, but pressure can't crack the turtle, baby. Up on his shell, he holds the earth. And now Finn's going back in. PowerOfEvil is down. Lost is trying to fight in a 1v4. Yes, he'll pick up a single kill, but it's Huni against the world. And TSM fall to pieces against CLG.
TSM getting destroyed by CLG here. The Bud Light ace coming through. You can see Aphelios heading over for that Baron. They could potentially take both the Baron and the Dragon here if they want to go for a risky play. But TSM just falling to pieces. It's again what I was talking about during the draft. They are just not on the same page. They are not looking coordinated whatsoever here. We can watch this one more time. Remember, Smoothie, they got that pick on a mid lane. Look where he is on the map. Smoothie's nowhere near this. You don't need to commit to a crazy play like this. SwordArt gets pulled over the wall with the flash, then okay, at the very least, just give him up. But then look at PowerOfEvil. He's going in. No one is looking to follow up. No one is flashing in with you. There's very split comms here, very clearly. And now that costs you your wild growth, your shield, everything out from Huni, while Spica is going in. And PowerOfEvil is retreating. And Lost is backing up. Right? They're just doing things not at the same time. And as a result, TSM is getting run over in these fights. CLG is looking like so much more of a cohesive unit. And TSM looks like a group of individuals.
And by the time we get done with the replay, we got another fight breaking out. Spica gets away ever so barely, man. CLG still with full health bars. Enemy jungler's been taken low. PowerOfEvil, nice shuffle onto RJS. That should be a free kill on the enemy mid laner, and that is huge for TSM. CLG still committing over to the Baron here. Do they really want to stick around for this without their mid laner? The answer is no, but TSM will swoop into the pit before it's able to reset. This could be the turning point here for TSM. Baron down below 5,000 HP. Finn's coming around from the side. Engaged from SwordArt. Griffin's pulled to safety. Baron's still at 3K. CLG have made quite a mistake here. WildTurtle might look for an opportunity to go back in, but no. CLG staying on the Baron too long after they lose their mid laner, gifts it and hands it over to TSM.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't just immediately pull back there. Either way, TSM, I think, would have gone for the Baron after the pick because they're right beside that pit. That was huge from PowerOfEvil. Finally, one of those aggressive moves he's been going for all game works out. Through laning phase, over by the dragon fight. He is always posturing for these aggressive Azir plays, looking to scoop people into his team, pick up that kill. This time it does pay off. They get the shutdown onto RJS, and that pick from PowerOfEvil gets TSM the Baron, gets them another shot in this game because it was getting out of hand, the gold deficit that they were at. CLG, though, still in a pretty good spot. They're looking to play the side lane. No one is going to be answering Finn, so TSM will group 5, they will shove down mid, and they will try to force a response here from CLG. But CLG could just look to wave clear and try to trade inhibitors. Honestly, wouldn't mind that at all.
That's the name of the game, the split push from Finn. Griffin,
great lantern.
Nearly in some trouble, but once again, man, the Smoothie show is on repeat here tonight. SwordArt walks away with 15% HP remaining. Finn is still in the enemy base. Isaac, you know what's better than trading inhibitors? Getting one for free. As Lost is getting stunned as he tries to get back. TSM is split up. Griffin is just being the best pain in the butt he can be. Finn's fallen back now after taking down the tier 3 turret. He will not overstay for the inhib, and CLG navigated that beautifully.
They really did. I actually love the chase from CLG because what was happening was TSM was actually moving to collapse over onto Finn. And the scuffle in the mid lane bought him time to actually back out and get out alive without even having to commit his teleport. Well, Huni went back to base, then immediately TP'd back to mid because he was worried about the fight breaking out. So now the inhibitor is exposed in the bot lane there for TSM. you can see Finn has built himself up to a very strong point in this game. He's got the GA online. He's working towards his 4th item here, and he's monstrously ahead in the farm. That's just how it's going to function when you have Huni, who's not playing side lanes, who's grouping constantly. The Camille will get stronger and stronger, and the question is, can TSM force him to group or win a 5v5 before he just splits them to death? Because once again, look at Finn up in the top lane. CLG have pushed out mid. They're going to answer bot with 4, and Finn is just still going. So he's going to force TSM to base and answer.
Yeah, this is not a situation that feels fun to play against whatsoever. Finn doing a great job on this side lane duty. Wants to stick around long enough to grab the minions. He doesn't anyway. They just end up dying to minion aggro, and he backs out before TSM can punish much at all. Finn's CS compared to Huni's, you can see Finn with a +70. Yes, Huni's items are cheaper, but that doesn't afford you much of an advantage when you don't have nearly as much gold. And Finn with the Trinity Force, with the Hydra, with the Guardian Angel, now working towards the Sterix Gauge as the 4th big ticket item. This guy is scary as hell on the Camille, and we got 20 seconds before it's Drake time yet again, Azael.
And CLG now are closing in on their soul point, right? This would be their 3rd straight Ocean. It gets harder and harder to actually deal with all the additional regen that they are going to have. Griffin's got to be a little bit careful, but I've got to credit Smoothie so much. He's always in the perfect spot to be here with the lanterns to allow for this poking and prodding, for this aggressive play that Griffin is actually going for. And RJS has been on point with the poke this game. TSM, though, they're going to commit to this. They really have no choice.
Finn's not here. They're just going to rush it down before Finn's able to arrive. The Ocean Drake's under threat. There you go. Ocean Soul finally for the side of TSM. Griffin's running away. 20% HP remaining. TSM hot on the chase. Lost goes up into the ulti, looking for the kill onto Smoothie, and he's got it. TSM getting paid here in the bottom half of the map, but losing their inhibitor.
Yeah, they're going to lose that inhibitor. I don't know if this was worth it. If the call from CLG is that we can't win a 5v5, then I get it. But they had teleport. They could have actually contested and tried to prevent that soul, because now this is a win condition for TSM. They have gotten this really powerful permanent buff for themselves that may give them some hope. But it seems like CLG have decided, okay, we're not going to 5v5 again ever. We're actually just going to hard commit to the split push. And if that's your choice, then the Ocean Soul is less impactful, because they're always going to be playing to the side lanes, looking to poke and prod and always avoid that straight up 5v5. But TSM's still going to be pretty happy, I think, with this trade overall. They just focus down the dragon. They smite it out. Griffin cannot get in range as he's being focused down by multiple members. And then Smoothie is just chased down here, lost with the aggressive play, getting on top of him, knocking down that support. We'll see what TSM can get done with this. The Baron's going to be up in a minute, and you can expect TSM to show up to that Baron ready to go to try to force Finn to group one more time. We'll see if he even wants to take the bait.
Well, one thing I do really like here is that because they were already playing against Gore Drinker Olaf and Moonstone Maneuver Lulu, CLG's got Grievous Wounds ready to go, right? You've got Griffin already having the Thornmail, which, remember, isn't just reactive Grievous Wounds, it's proactive. Anytime you apply an Immobilize, you put Grievous on them. You've already got the Executioner's Calling onto WildTurtle with the Runeans as well, so plenty of AoE Grievous Wounds application there. CLG can deal with
gonna die before the
possibility. WildTurtle now getting pulled to safety here by the Lantern. PowerOfEvil still has to get back to the base and try to defend this one somehow. CLG with the split push threat once again, getting it done. Lost eating some damage, trying to go forward here yet again. WildTurtle getting slowed down. WildTurtle in a bad spot. WildTurtle's going to be killed if they ain't careful. Turtle's finding a lot of damage back in retaliation, but he will be shut down. TSM running over CLG here in the mid lane.
But again, the base, he's just taking down those inhibitors. The second one is down. He's looking for PoE.
Oh, and he uses the ulti beautifully like a gymnast at the Olympics. He jumps over that thing going over after PoE, but the damage is too much, and Finn must retreat.
Yeah, he's got to get out of there, and TSM are on the Baron, and that was the first major mistake, it felt like, from CLG around that Lantern, because Turtle did not click the Lantern. By the time he saw it, he was too far away from that Lantern to get back to it. He could not get to safety despite the incredible amount of self-healing that came through. He had the red gun. Let's just watch this one more time. So Smoothie drops the Lantern. You need to click that instantly. But he's trying to run out of that Leona ultimate, and that is what he was focused on. So by the time he actually sees the Lantern, it is too little too late. Had he taken the Lantern, then been able to flash afterwards, I believe he could have created enough space to survive. Instead, they are able to chase him down, get on top of him. This grouped up composition here finally feeling like it's coming online for TSM. Now they have the Baron. They have the Ocean Soul. They want to push. They want to fight. They're in a position to do so. And it's going to be up to CLG to try to avoid that, to try to find ways to get into the base, to circumvent that. Because if they are forced into a 5v5 now, I believe TSM wins. I mean, they've got a full item Xayah. They've got the death cap completed, the void staff, everything needed on PowerOfEvil. They are ridiculously strong in the 5v5, and CLG may be kicking themselves for not trying to contest that previous Ocean Soul Dragon.
That does mean, though, that Elder Drake is on the board here in just about 2 minutes. Now, luckily for TSM, TSM has the Baron ready to go for almost the entirety of that time. So they'll have full control over Summoner's Rift. They can get all the waves pushed out, prime the map however they want to best be prepared for this Elder fight. Because if they're already going to win in a 5v5, if they can get an Elder buff, man, it is just curtain call here for CLG. Yes, Finn has been doing a great job here in the side lanes, but it feels like ever since that Baron that TSM got off the back of the pick onto RJS in the red side TSM jungle, things have just been slowly moving more and more towards their way.
They really have, and with the Ocean Soul, it's hard for RJS to really do as much also. You can get that poke down, but Ocean Soul allows you to be able to regen up so incredibly quickly. So if you don't really 100 to 0 someone, the poke doesn't really matter as much, right? And if you think back to those earlier Dragon fights that CLG was winning, it was largely due to a lot of poke landing before the initial fight, whittling down the health bars of TSM, and then committing to the ult, and then committing to the flank and killing them off. But in this stage of the game, you just don't have that luxury, unfortunately, for CLG.
CLG has got to figure out a way to navigate these fights, man. 45 seconds, Elder Drake is on the table. 2 inhibitors still dead in the TSM base, but the topside inhib is going to respawn here in 10 seconds. So you've got Finn still splitting. He's still got teleport ready to use. Now you cannot afford to play the will trade 1 inhib for Drake game with Elder. TSM will take that trade, I guarantee you.
Yeah, the only way they can go for it is if you think you can end, right? If you think you have an angle to end the game, if the Baron buff expires and TSM are stuck without being able to recall, that's when you can try to go for that sort of play. And Finn is in the base. They are getting recalls now just before the Baron expires. They aren't able to stop that, but he takes the inhibitor. We'll see if he wants to stay around, because if they now all move towards that Elder, with a wave coming in, Finn could potentially end. So TSM have got to split, and if they're not having their 5 members together, their composition becomes much weaker here. So they are TPing in, and now it's a 1v1 between PowerOfEvil and Finn in the base, and that may decide the game more than the 4v4 Dragon.
Well, the Elder Drake is up. Let's see how they fight for it. A TP's coming in. CLG's going for the game-ending play here. RJS has arrived. He misses the Paddle Star onto PowerOfEvil. The minions are gone. The Nexus turrets still stand. There are only 3 players from CLG still around the Elder Drake. Griffin's at half HP. He's trying to stay close enough as Spica goes into the Ragnarok here, chasing after him. Udyr is down, and TSM will claim the Elder Drake as a prize. Turtle and Smoothie still sticking around. There's no reason to go in there, fellas. That is not a fight y'all are going to be winning. Turtle tries to get something, but he will not find it. Lost,
still going for the base.
One who takes the Drake down, but they're still trying to end the game here. PowerOfEvil knows all he has to do is buy a little bit of time. It's not about winning the fight. It's about not losing the base. Finn's in some trouble with Lost coming around from the side. 6-item Xayah says hello, my friend. He'll respawn here with the Guardian Angel. It is completely wasted, and TSM wins out across the map.
You call it 6 items, I'm calling it 7, because he's got a dragon in his pocket there to assist. The laser beams raining down, knocking down Finn. CLG committed to the base play to try to go for the back door, and they were not able to connect with the critical spells on PowerOfEvil. He held in the 1v2 for so long without going down, and you can see in the picture-in-picture, we should just go back to live, because CLG again is committing to this sort of play. They know they cannot win 5v5. They have no chance of winning 5v5 against the Elder, so they have got to try to create some sort of a scenario where they can get around their opponents, because both their solo laners are dead. TSM is on the death march here. They are looking to run straight down and end this game.
Now, CLG will have their solo laners alive back in time to defend Nexus turrets. It appears they still only have 5 seconds left, but they still have to deal with the fact that everybody on TSM's got the Elder Drake. Even in a 5v5, that's not fair. Elder Drake is designed to be a game-ending buff, and TSM would love to end this 42-minute game right now. They are 3,000 gold ahead. They do have the Dragon Soul. They do have the Elder. Finn critically also with no Guardian Angel. GA is one of those items that can feel incredible with the passive or completely worthless, and the way that Finn died with it in the bottom lane was the latter of the two. Just ended up buying him an extra 2 seconds before he fell, as TSM will take down their second Tier 3 turret of the game, going for their second inhibitor now, and CLG does not want to fight for this. 35 seconds remain here on the Elder Dragon. Now, the one saving grace for CLG in this situation, TSM can't just walk up to the northern part of the base and take that inhibitor as well because the top lane Tier 2 is still standing. So we have a multi-inhib game from both teams, Isaac.
Exactly, and CLG now has effectively lasted through that Elder Dragon. They've got to give respect to the last couple seconds of it. TSM now moving up towards the Baron, seeing if they can get anything done with the waning seconds of this Elder Dragon. But Finn, you can see he's down in the bot lane. CLG has no intention of taking that 5v5. In goes the Leona. Not going to connect, though, again.
Got an ulti, but hey, it doesn't really matter. You can see even though he took a little bit of damage, immediately got healed. This Xayah with 6 items, with the Moonstone Renewer Lulu, keeping him alive there from the top lane. So scary for CLG to have to deal with. Baron's already down below half HP. TSM's going for it. 4,000, 3,000, 2,000. Gone and slain by loss. Griffin's not able to steal it away. CLG will lose another big objective. They will not get the inhibitor bottom lane as the trade. Ping's coming out from PowerOfEvil saying, hey, we got problems back in the base, but TSM gets the Baron.
Yep, and getting that Baron is so big because when you pick up the Red Bull Baron buff, you can recall so quickly back to the base, respond to Finn, so Finn has no chance of looking for any sort of a 1v1, any sort of an outplay towards PowerOfEvil. He has completed his 6th item now, though. He has that Chempunk Chain Sword, so indexing very heavily into these healing T-buffs, and the game will continue. CLG are going to keep playing for these sort of side lane plays. And Finn, at the very least, did get that ward down in the bottom lane. It's not in the base, but it's fairly far forward, so he has somewhere to TP to if he has to go for it. For now, though, moving up, and I don't know if he was actually spotted by the pink ward. He may have been, and we'll see what TSM's answer is going to be. I think they may just make the call to go for the march here, right down mid, try to finish out the game.
PowerOfEvil's going back.
Okay.
PowerOfEvil is going back to defend against Finn's split push. Both of them are 6 items.
He canceled the recall.
Okay, PowerOfEvil continuing to push. Never mind. All right.
CLG got a hold.
Is this really going to be a base race? Is that how we're going to end this? 45 minutes in? We're base racing? Looks like it is.
We see them all now. Finn's going. He's TPing.
Nexus turret already dead. TSM going for the play here in the enemy base. Finn coming back, looking to maybe make some sort of a fight, but the fight's already over, baby. They already lost Griffin, and Smoothie's going to be dropping here next. Finn finds a W, but that ain't going to do nothing. WildTurtle's trying to stand and fight, but it ain't doing a damn thing. CLG looked good for a while, but it's TSM taking the win here today.
TSM finally getting that win, their first one of the spring split. They do pick it up. Relief more than celebration on the faces of the TSM squad here. They know they needed that win, but it was a tough one for them. CLG contested them the whole way through that game, and really it came down to, could CLG play the map well enough to find this opportunity to end the game, or could TSM force them to actually answer them at the objectives? And I do think, CLG are going to be looking back and wishing maybe they had gone for an earlier dragon to delay the potential soul, or even challenged at that 4th soul. Like when they went for the Ocean Soul and they actually just gave it up and Finn was going for the base, maybe CLG could have fought there and had a chance to win before TSM had the Ocean Soul, but that really negated so much of what RJS was getting done in the earlier stages of the game. And again, CLG, turns in this performance where they're having a lot of good moments, but they don't have the macro play. They don't know how to actually close out these games. And TSM drafts a very simple composition: Lulu top, Olaf, group it up, buff up your members, and 5v5, and that's what they're able to get done.
Whenever I see a game come down to the wire like this, I always try to look back and pinpoint the moment that made the biggest difference. And to me, that was the pick onto RJS, topside red jungle, into the first Baron for TSM. Because up until that point, CLG was so far ahead that they were allowed to play their split push game without TSM just being able to brute force things with the 5v5. That Baron and the subsequent goal gains that TSM got from it brought them back up to a playable position in the game where then they were able to eventually get the win. And damn, was it close. It was down to, at one point, all the inhibitors down in TSM's base, having only one Nexus turret left, Finn constantly being a threat. And you have to look back and wonder if that Baron didn't happen when it did, if TSM was not able to apply that bandage and staunch that bleeding, could Finn have just been able to end the game before TSM hit critical mass? If, could, would, should, none of it matters. The game is over and TSM took the dub. Right now, we're going to step away, but don't y'all go anywhere, because Riv's going to be chatting with PowerOfEvil on the other side of the break.